Hello, gang. I'm back. We're going to continue with the chronology of my comic book history of collecting with showing a few books and talking about the years 1970 and 71. These are the years when I became much more cognizant of the books that I was reading and the things that I were interested in, the titles I were interested in. Spider-Man led the pack. What a surprise is that? Spidey being such a popular hero is not some kind of manifestation of the modern age with the movies and all that. Spidey was immensely popular in these late bronze or late silver and early bronze days. He was definitely the hero to watch. And I'm sure a lot of that had to do with the cartoon and things like that. But the books themselves were just awesome. So that didn't hurt things either. I began to pay a little more attention to what my sisters might have been picking up at that time. Usually when we were treated to a trip to the convenience store, I would always buy comic books, of course. My sisters would often buy candy and things like these little 29-cent or 49-cent or whatever they were, little packages of barrettes for their hair, or children's version of makeup and things like that. But still, my sisters would occasionally pick up comic books, and they would invariably pick up things like Archie titles or the romance titles and an occasional Lois Lane. I didn't really care too much for them at the time, but I read them. And now here we are, all these decades later, and I love those books. Love them, love them, love them. And have even actively sought out some of the issues that my sisters picked up off the rack. It was also around this time, let me say, that I began to really take notice of those great Marvel in-house ads of On Sale Now, where they had the little cover illustrations. Boy, they started to fire my imagination around this time. And a lot of my collecting in the future, particularly when I got into buying back issues just a couple of years later through mail order, and then the back issue bins, those in-house ads with the covers really fired my imagination. But, well, to keep this rolling, I was primarily reading in 70 to 71 Marvel titles. It was Submariner and Thor, the Avengers, Iron Man, and I loved Captain America. Captain America was just the man for me, and Spider-Man, of course, as I said before. It was also around this time that I discovered Neal Adams and Bernie Wrightson. My sister Cindy, for some reason, one day picked up off the rack Batman 234, and I think most of us must know what that issue is. It's the classic Silver Age reintroduction of Two-Face. I actually just recently, just here a couple of months ago, sold my last copy of it, so I don't have the book anymore. I don't really have any regrets parting with that. Well, maybe a tiny little bit, but anyway, that was really my introduction to Neal Adams. I do remember some of the Avengers of the time, although I didn't pick them up off the rack, with the exception of number 95 and 96. I did pick them up off the rack. Bernie Wrightson is what I can tell you, geez, he really turned me on to the whole horror genre. Never paid any attention to those books before, but when I picked up and leafed through some of those great House of Mystery, House of Secrets, and I saw that Bernie Wrightson stuff, boy, it just grabbed hold of me, and we've never looked back. But here you go with a couple. This little short stack I have here are some of my off the rack books. This is actually my sister Cindy's copy of Jughead 189. And if anybody out there has a beautiful, very fine, perfectly centered copy of it, please feel free to private message me, and we can certainly work out some kind of deal. Actually, a couple of these I pulled out from my unbagged reader stacks last night, and they look so beautiful that I just decided to put them in Mylar. So here we go. Just a few more of the readers. My off-the-rack stuff from 70 to 71. Here's a nice little book. Thor 188. Great John Buscema cover. Real favorite of mine. Again, these are in remarkable condition. Especially for sitting for so many years unbagged. I mean, 35 years unbagged in my reader stacks. I guess I just ignored them. I didn't really pay any attention to them. Here's one that I'm sure will get a lot of attention. Here's my off-the-rack copy of Spidey 100. It's in remarkable condition. It really is. It's beautifully centered and is certainly a really tight, fine, I would say. To be completely conservative, I'd say very good plus to fine minus. Great book. Here's a little baby that is near and dear to me. I think I was just talking about it this morning on video or a comment that I posted on Nick's channel about the Red Skull. This is my baby. It's Captain America 129. This copy it's not exactly off the rack for me, but it was off the rack for my cousin Philip, who gave it to me shortly after he chose it off the rack. But it's a great battle issue. Just remarkable issue. If you've never seen Gene Colan's Red Skull from this issue, open it up and you will see the most sinister, haunting Red Skull you will ever see. Just a couple left here. Beautiful Adventures 85. Good Lord, yes. Just a great issue. One of my favorites. And any Avengers from, say, 68 through 71, 72 is just extraordinary. Avengers was one of the capstones of Marvel's offerings during those years. And if you've not read these books, I implore you to do so. But this is my off-the-rack copy. Here we go. Here's a couple of DCs. We're finally getting into some DC stuff. Here's Superman 231. What can I say about it? It's a nice book. This off-the-rack copy has been in this Mylar bag for at least 20-25 years. I can tell you that because I know the style of the Mylar bags that I was buying at the time. So this sucker's been encased in Mylar for quite some time. The extraordinary Neal Adams cover, of course. Here's one that I just recently upgraded, but this is my off-the-rack copy, and it's a beauty still too. Another terrific Neal Adams cover. Just maybe a year ago, I bought a beautiful, probably very fine plus near mint minus copy of it, although this one isn't too shabby either. Another off-the-rack book from the years 1970 to 71. Those are just a few of the highlights, gang, from my off-the-rack books of the time. I'm trying to keep these videos as short and concise as I can, and just kind of keep it on the highlights and things like that. The next video to come will be getting into the year 1972, and that is the year when everything kind of clicked for me, when everything changed for me, and at the tender age of 8 years old, as a seasoned collector already, I began paying intense attention to the books that I was buying off the rack, and continuing or adopting a desire to keep them as beautiful as I could when I became a true collector. So the next video will get into all that. I hope you enjoyed this one. I enjoyed presenting it to you, and we'll talk to you soon. See y'all later. Bye-bye.